Hey everybody, it's David Barry. I'm super excited again, as always, every week. I'm on episode 32, and I actually have finally recovered from my Leaving California Southern Freedom Tour. And these were two of the agents. They're always there for me, and I appreciate you guys. We wanted to do a special show today talking about relocations and what some of the mistakes are that people make. And before we got on the show, I was telling both of them that I already missed Tennessee. So I missed Tennessee already. Uh, Good afternoon, Lynette. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. And Amy, always a pleasure to see you. How are you today, Amy?
Oh, so good. The sun is finally out, which is amazing. Always a blessing.
And I think the most important thing I should ask is, does Tennessee miss me?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So today, and you guys notice that I'm missing somebody. Did you guys happen to notice who I'm missing?
Yeah, Terry.
Oh, Terry is traveling. So Terry, we know you're probably out there watching us, and we miss you. For those of you, excuse me, that tried to join our live, Facebook has decided to change their algorithms, and we are still trying to figure out how to go live again. It is not a simple progress process, and Lynette and I tried to do it for about an hour and a half today, and we could not get there. So you're going to be watching this show recorded. And, the reason that I wanted to have Lynette and Amy join the show is because they both are from California and they both deal with a lot of clients that move from California. And we're going to be talking about the three big don'ts. And we're going to give you the top three things that maybe you didn't think about for doing your relocation. So, maybe you guys could share what the weather's like in your area and just kind of share what's going on in your world and your community. And then we're going to dive in. Lynette, would you start first?
Yeah, so it's actually really warm here today. It's 82 in Morristown and it is super sunny.
And anything, it was funny because we just did our recap show last week, Terry and I. And I think I shared this with Amy. I'm not sure if I told her, but Morristown was the sleepy pick out of all the cities. Man, that is a hidden gem in the United States. If you're looking to get a house for under 300,000 on a half an acre, there's some amazing homes, and it's just a great community. I really, really liked it. I love Knoxville too. So what's going on in Knoxville, Amy?
Oh, great question. I just wrapped up a huge community yard sale. We used to have these all the time before COVID. I was able to kind of use one of the neighborhoods in Oak Ridge, Tennessee during the U.S. Rowing Championships or regatta. And we had hundreds of cars there. We ran out of 100 maps by 8:30 a.m. Some of the homeowners had to run back in their home to grab more things to sell. And some of them even had to close around 11:30 a.m. and we were supposed to go till 1 p.m. It was so jam-packed. I had 4 fire trucks, 3 policemen, and my ice cream truck vendor decided not to come because it wasn't safe to come in and out. But regardless, we had a really great time, and I'm already revving up for the second one, which is going to be in July 13th. So 2 months from now.
That's awesome. Wait, July 13th, that's the weekend of the event that Monty's coming to in Las Vegas.
Nice.
You're not coming?
I don't know. This one is really big, and I'm going to be having so many locals and businesses come out. But Monty and I did speak about it earlier. If you guys haven't talked to Monty, you guys are missing out. He is definitely someone that you should do. Maybe I don't know if it's one of the top three things, but that you should definitely have a conversation with him if you're thinking about moving.
Well, that's awesome. And and I know this is off topic, but I was watching some of your posts and you were super excited about your event and the passion that you put into it. I know for sure it was an amazing event. And we're actually talking with all of our premier realtors across the country. And by the way, we have 350 of them. You can find them right in our tabs key on our pages, that we're going to start holding events for our Leaving California members. So if you guys are interested in that, we're going to be having events. Maybe my goal is to have two. Amy has a lot of events, and I think Lynette's starting to do events, or you already have been?
Yeah, it's in the works.
So we're going to be having events, and we want our members, because that's why we have the Life After California channel, is for people to have a place to go to talk about what life is like after California and ask questions and make comments and, hopefully give some positive feedback and comments. So be looking out for that in your city, because we are going to put chapters in each one of our cities that we're in. And we're going to have a community of people from California that get to share ideas and maybe even create some networking opportunities, because I know a lot of our members have their own businesses and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and dive in, and we're going to talk about the three mistakes that people will make when they're leaving and relocating to another state. And for those of you that are listening, it doesn't just have to be, we have a lot of members that are not in California. They tune into our channel because they want to understand and learn about not making mistakes. So the first one we're going to talk about is the big one. That's the moving. And unfortunately, you do have to move. And so sometimes if you make bad decisions with the moving company, you are going to regret it. Do you guys have any moving stories that you
Oh,
can share? Go ahead,
yeah.
Lynette.
Definitely. I mean, I just recently had two families move here from Northern California. One of them used a moving company and their truck arrived a week later than anticipated. And then I also had another family that used pods, and they scheduled it to be delivered to Johnson City because that's the area they thought they were going to move to. And then they didn't follow up and change it because the house they got an offer accepted on was not in that area. Well, Pops doesn't deliver to that area.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
it can really turn into a big mess if you're not, making sure and double checking, where these companies can deliver to and when are they going to come.
Yeah. And honestly, this is one of the biggest complaints that we get from the groups is their moving situations. Most of the time, the feedback that we get is not that, oh my gosh, our family picked the wrong city, but the process is. And that's why, it's really important that you use our vendors and you use our people, because we do this all the time and we specialize in getting people out of California. Amy, your moving story?
Great question. My clients also moved from Northern California, used a reputable moving company, and it was kind of extortion. They came to the house, they were like, "Oh, sorry, we misquoted you," wanted more money.
Oh,
Then, wrapped up all their belongings, and while they were traveling to Tennessee, they were like, there are additional fines they had to pay, otherwise they weren't going to get their belongings back. And, I'm not here to scare you, but a lot of due diligence in the entire process is so necessary. I had one client move from Arizona recently, and he drove over one night across country to Tennessee with everything. And I thought that was insane. Like, I get tired after driving 3 hours. I'm like, someone please take the wheel because I
yeah,
can't go further.
yeah,
And I have some clients who find it a little easier to just sell a majority of their furniture and then
yeah.
buy new furniture. In Tennessee, I will say, I'm sure it's the same for you, Lynette, but we love estate sales, flea markets, garage sales, yard sales,
Mhm.
in addition to everything else. Now, we don't have IKEA, but we definitely have a lot of options for you.
What did you say, Lynette?
Oh, there's a lot of auctions here as well.
Yeah. And you know what? I get some of the other feedback that I get a lot. I see a lot of comments that you guys are posting on our sites is that you can get rid of some of your stuff. Like you don't have to bring everything with you. And the people that say that they downsize and they get rid of some of their furniture, they get rid of some of the things that they've had for a long time, they seem to be a lot happier than just saying, you know what, we're just going to take everything. And that just seems to be a lot more kind of a painful process. So, and then the other thing that I hear a lot, and Terry, if he was here, I'm sure he'd be talking about that, is hiring a broker. Now, a broker is a third party person that's going to go out and try and find you guys movers, and they may not really even have a relationship with them, and that can really be a nightmare because you don't know what you're going to get. And Amy, I've heard that story too many times. They pull up to your house and they're holding you hostage. You're like, yeah, we're not unloading. What do you mean you're not unloading? That's my stuff. Yeah, we're not going to unload because there's this and that fee. Do you guys have a broker story? And Lynette, have you experienced that? The broker situation? Do you have any stories on that? And have you heard of anyone being held hostage?
I have not had that experience, but I do see it often in the group of people complaining of that happening to them. So I think people are kind of getting smart to that and not going that route if they can help it. But yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. And then so we do have we have about, I think there's 12 or maybe more. We have certified movers in the group. So if you're thinking about moving, and by the way, all of our premier realtors that do this every day, we have mover recommendations and we can give you a couple of people to call, but make sure you do your homework on that because we don't want to see anybody have a bad experience. You're basically getting to leave California and welcome to America. So you want this to be fun, you want it to be exciting, and it really is a new day. And we want you guys to be happy. And let's face it, most of the people, almost all of them, they're always happy. I've never seen anyone. Amy, have you ever seen someone holding up a sign going, "We made it to Nashville," and they look like they're about to cry? No. They look like they're ready to have a party. They're so happy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, So the next one we thought we would talk about is, and this one is for our people that aren't as structured or organized, and that is having a checklist. So when you're making your checklist, I would like to have Lynette and Amy chime in and kind of talk about the checklist and all of the different steps. And maybe you guys could touch on something that some of your clients maybe forgot, or maybe they didn't even have a checklist. So let's start with Amy on this one and talk about having a checklist.
A checklist is so crucial. I don't know how you grocery shop. Sometimes we can shop without one and we always end up forgetting something. Or, you can't shop when you're starving or you can't shop when you're full. Um, Timelines are crucial in the move. And some of the things that are really hard as a home buyer moving to a new house, I really like to have my sellers hold on to the utilities. Here in Tennessee, if they shut it off the day of closing, they could come early in the morning. That could affect your final walkthrough. You have to wait. You have to call the company. They have to come out. I mean, down to the very, very minuscule things like that. But I would love to hear some of your checklists and SOPs, Lynette. So you
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
definitely. Yeah. Utilities, that is a big deal because you have to have your final closing statement to start your utilities. So usually I'll advise people print a copy of that off, or at your first night on the road, if you're going to drive, print off a copy at the hotel and turn them on your trip, so that when you arrive, everything's on. Another thing that some buyers have struggled with is receiving mail once they get to their new home.
Right.
A lot of the new construction homes do not come with a mailbox. So I've, noticed that lately. Make sure to have a handyman or ask your realtor to help coordinate getting a mailbox installed, because a lot of times those addresses don't exist yet. And so it takes about a week to get the, postal service lined up to actually start delivering mail to your property. So figure out your mail situation, go paperless if you can, pay your bills online. You really want to streamline your whole life to where you could do it from your phone or your computer, wherever you're at.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
and
fun. Oh, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
you made and brought up a huge point. For some of those new builds that have a cluster box, I think you have to be prepared to pick up your mail from the local post office. And sometimes it takes a few people to kind of push the post office along to get those mailboxes installed. So great point.
Yeah.
And it reminds me when we talk about checklists, I don't know, for some reason I was thinking, and by the way, all of our realtors are they produce a lot of they have a lot of production, which means they have a lot of listings, they do a lot of sales. They don't just sell one house a year. We don't even like to call it sell. We like to say that they help a lot of people with their move. But I remember the one thing when I was in school, I'll never forget this for real estate and some of the advanced training was they used to say, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. If it's not on your checklist, it doesn't exist. So you can imagine the nightmare that you could create if the mail, forwarding the mail wasn't on your checklist and you forgot, and now you really have some important mail coming in. So make sure, and I would be more, I wouldn't feel bad about putting all of the little minute details in there, because then you have everything in writing and you can just check those things off. It makes it a lot better. Amy, great point. I've gone to the grocery store before and I'm like, I know what I need to get. And then you get home and you're like, I forgot 3 things. So having a checklist, I know it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I think in the long run, it really does save you guys. So the next one we're talking about is not allowing enough time. And I think you kind of alluded to that a little bit, Lynette. Can you share a little bit about what does that mean, not allowing enough time when it comes to the relocation process and how long it really takes to do all of the steps necessary to get into your new home?
So, I mean, I see a lot of people say we need to leave, but we have 3 or 4 years before we have to retire, or I can leave this job. You cannot start organizing and, getting rid of things soon enough. Start now. Even
Yeah.
if you're 3 or 4 years out, every 6 months, look at your things, go through your closet, go through your garage. If you haven't used it in the last 6 months, you probably don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Really buckling down and I mean, that is the biggest deal, is packing up and getting out of your current home, whether if you rent or you own or you have storage units. I mean, it could really put you in a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got to get out of the house, I mean, people scramble to the last second till they have to hand keys over. You don't want that experience. You really want to make this as, stress-free as you possibly can. And I think you can't start soon enough, even if you're years out.
That's great advice. Amy, go ahead. Anything else you want to add to that?
I 100% agree. I think planning, preparation, doing your research, doing your homework, coming out to view properties, as Haley and I like to say, we like to call it an exploratory trip. Come out and see if you can envision yourself living in these cities. It is so important. A lot of us like to take it on the weekends. I actually push people to come on the weekdays. Come feel the way the rush hour traffic is and what it's like with kids. In the weekends, people are out and about and things seem quiet, and you move in, you're like, whoa, this is not the neighborhood I was expecting or knew about. Time frame wise, I always believe poor preparation, eh, creates poor execution. And I think that if it isn't written down, it doesn't exist. So before you do your checklist or calendars, just write it down. And sometimes I have a million notes, but I am that old school note taker. And you know, I see a lot of people that do not get pre-approved and they're kind of guessing numbers and guessing the way that they should write their offers. But the pre-approval really lets you sit in the driver's seat. You get to know exactly how much you can afford. And even if you get pre-approved for 1 million, but you really want to stay in a certain monthly, like just focus on that. We would love to help you out, but our main focus and goal is really to find that right home for you. And we'll never push a deal on you. So finding the right person for everything and who's going to be on your team on your side is I think going to be the biggest win to get you over the finish line and happy.
Yeah. Well, so just to recap the top 3 mistakes, and by the way, my brain is always thinking so much when I'm listening to you talk, but I was I was at some new home builders over the weekend, and I had 2 of them said the same thing. They said, David, it's funny. A lot of times a lot of the clients will come in and they're afraid to make eye contact with me, or they're afraid to talk to me. And the thing that I want to tell our members is that the advice that we give is free. And we really truly believe, like, there is no such thing as a stupid question or a dumb question. Like, if you're doing your research, please don't ever be afraid to ask the question that you don't understand. We do this every day, and yes, it is second nature to us, but you're so much better off to ask that question. And don't be afraid to reach out. And by the way, if it's not a fit, the 3 of us are all sitting here and we will tell you if it's not a fit for us, or if it's not a fit for you, especially you, it's okay. We don't mind. We're not gonna mix with everybody every single time. But the main thing I'm saying is make sure you ask all the questions, because if you have a question, You're going to be way better off if you understand the answer and then you can execute it, like Amy said. So don't be afraid to ask questions of your lender. You have to ask questions, and you really want to make sure that you vet out your moving company, and you want to make sure that you understand your realtor too. I talked about that on my show this morning on our Money Matters show. We were talking about finding the right realtor and what does that mean? How do you, I mean, you've got to know, like, and trust the realtor. And if you don't, and you're like, I don't know about that. I want people to like me. I taught martial arts for 35 years. And, you know, if somebody said, well, I don't really, I just don't feel it. I'm like, well, then this isn't the right school. But they have to know, like, and trust you. That's very important. We're going to move on. And Amy, you already kicked it off. So thank you, Amy, for kicking it off. And this one, this is a must. You got to visit the new city. I know that there's so much resources in the internet. You can Google stuff, sure, but pictures don't really have 1,000 words here. Being in Morristown, that has 1,000. It actually has a lot more than 1,000 to me. But yeah, you need to go to the city. You need to check it out. You need to get a feel for it. You're not even starting with looking at houses. You're looking at communities, and you're seeing what the communities are like. And we, all three of us, we encourage our clients, go to the grocery store. Go drive by the school and see what the kids look like. See, you know, are they happy, smiling? And, you know, does it look like a welcome area to live in? So you have to go. And usually we like to, we suggest too, but if you're dead set on going to Knoxville, then go to Knoxville. But if you're like, well, I really want to go to Tennessee and I want to see what they've been talking about with all of these amazing prices in Morristown, go to both. They're only an hour away. So, Amy, not Amy, Lynette, I'm going to start with you, and let's talk about checking out the cities. And what is that like? Explain to our members what it's like when they come to your city and they're just there to do their research.
Well, so I feel like when people come here, they may have an area that they're zoned in on. Um, on the flip side, there's a lot of people that have no idea where they want to be. They might send me a list of 15 homes that span the entire, you know, eastern part of Tennessee. And you really have to, I mean, if you're unsure, you've really got to drive through, make it a whole week-long trip and spend a night in a different city each time, because they are different. East Tennessee is not, I mean, it's all gorgeous. It's all beautiful. It's got rolling hills. It has mountains, but you know, some towns are really small. They might not have enough amenities. The doctors might be too far away. And one other thing that I really tell people is, you know, before you come, add every single community Facebook page for areas that you're thinking about, because you're going to see the crime, you're going to see the drama, you're going to see what events happen, what are the schools like. You're going to learn a lot about how the area functions if you add the groups like you're a local person.
Got it. Amy, take it away.
I really love to focus on the lifestyle, even when I'm selling a home. It is so important to know. And again, don't be afraid. Like if you have a dog, if you have children, believe it or not, those two factors I feel like drive a lot of us in our home, you know, making decisions, whether it's a dog park, a fenced in yard, buy a school system, or if you're retired and you like the lake, like go eat at every single lake restaurant. If you want to be downtown and you want to feel what that's like, I think a lot of people, like we have a lot of misconceptions here, especially from California, because I was one of them for sure. And we think that rent is cheap. We think the home prices are cheap, and they may be for sure in Morristown. But Knoxville will surprise you. We are pretty pricey. We have inched over 500,000 in population. We are no longer a small college town. We are a thriving, growing city. So get your hands and feet dirty. Go to the concerts. Go to the chalk walk. Um, Go to the happy hours. It's a blast. Farmers markets, blast.
You're basically saying immerse yourself in the community. Yeah. Yeah.
As you can, as much as you can.
Yeah, that is so good. And then and here's where the realtors come into play, because we can tell you where to go check out. And I like to call them hidden secrets, or I call them hidden gems. And they're like, "Hey, do you know a hole in the wall Mexican restaurant that we could go try? Because we don't want to just go to regular, you know, a regular place. We want a hole in the wall that's just amazing. They have really good prices." So when you get an expert like us, we're going to be able to tell you and share with you where to go. And what about outdoor activities? Like here in Las Vegas, you got to go on the Hoover Dam tour. It's amazing. Did you know that Lake Mead was the largest man-made lake in all of North America? It's huge. We have snow skiing 45 minutes away to the north. But all of these things, you're not going to really be able to learn everything on Google. And by the way, when you talk to someone like me or someone like Amy or like Lynette, they're going to be able to tell you and share their experience about it too. So that's a really cool thing. Moving on. Research housing and job opportunities. This is one where I feel like sometimes people kind of miss the boat. They feel like, oh, I heard that Knoxville has so many job opportunities, but maybe it's not even in your industry. So researching the housing situation, and obviously you're going to do that with a realtor, and having the job opportunities. This is really a big one. A lot of the clients that I deal with that do relocations, they already have their job lined out, but it does happen where people are like, no, we're getting out of California and we're going to figure it out when we get there. So, Amy, I'm going to start with you and let you touch on research housing and job opportunities when you're thinking of a new community.
So, unlike a lot of the members here, and don't get me wrong, I was a Californian who loved to complain about where I live. We all do. And I I was kind of forced to come in this position, and I really like Knoxville's grown on me so much. I can't even see myself living back in California. Um, Everyone says that they're happy when they leave. I will tell you, I've had some customers that or clients that wanted to cry. And we're number one in healthcare for our industry, but they're nurses. Nurses in California get paid a lot. They're union. They get lunch breaks, so many clients, so many beds. Here, we're very, very, very short staffed. I mean, floors will be closed. Some people need to be stuffed in the NICU. A lot of nurses said, they're just treated a certain way and they come here and they expect it, and it's kind of been disappointing. So when I did my research on Google, I think Tennessee for nurses ended up being like the fourth worst state. So maybe that's something that you want to consider. Being a traveling nurse, you can make a lot of money, but you can only do that for so long. And that just goes back to the employment. And there are so many great opportunities here. We have the National Laboratory in Oak Ridge. Um, we have Altered State, which is really cool. We have actually a lot of manufacturing companies, Amazon. I think Oracle's making their way to Nashville, and In-N-Out's even coming here. There's a reason why so many companies, including people, are making the move to this area.
And what about housing?
Housing wise, our median home price, if I had to put a blanket over Knoxville, is about 350,000. The top three places that people love to look at are Maryville, Farragut, and Tellico Village. Each have their own little pocket as far as doing their research on a median home price. And
Mhm.
um, believe it or not, a one-story ranch home costs more money to build than a two-story home. And that
Mhm.
always surprises people. It needs a larger lot. It's easier to build upwards. And if you're looking for more land, to ask your realtor to toggle at least a 0.2 acre or larger, and that will probably get you out of a lot of those cookie cutter subdivisions.
You know what, Amy, that's such great advice when I go back to job opportunities, because most people would just assume, well, I need to have a job, so I need to lock up and secure a job. But you took it one step further and you talked about maybe the industry's not the same, because that's something I wouldn't have thought of. So that's a great point that the industry of being a nurse in California is different than being a nurse in Tennessee. And then when we talk about housing, that's something that I've actually learned as being a relocation expert. When you buy a house in a different state, it's a totally different process. So, and by going, and some people are saying, you know what, I think I'm just going to do this on my own. I'll be able to figure it out. And that costs you a lot of money, it costs you a lot of time, and it costs you a lot of stress. I know I got off on sidetrack there, Lynette, but get me back on track and talk about housing and job opportunities.
Yeah, no, to just kind of touch back on what Amy brought up about nurses. I mean, I had very good friends move here from San Diego, and the wife is a respiratory therapist, and she took a huge pay cut moving here. But I can tell you right now, if you asked her, her quality of life is through the roof now. You know, and one thing that I recommend and one thing that we did, David, when you came here is meet with the local Chamber of Commerce. When you come here to visit,
Mhm.
walk in, you don't have to have an appointment. Ask them what are jobs like? What's the industry like? What companies are moving here? I mean, Morristown, this area is, I believe it's the seventh largest industrial area in Tennessee. And there's a ton of work here. You could get, I mean, I see signs up all the time. You could get a factory job, which I know isn't ideal, but you can come here making over $20 an hour. Clayton Homes is hiring. They have a sign up on one of their production sites. And I think they're hiring over $30 an hour. And there's different tools that the Chamber of Commerce can show you on their websites. If you can plug in, I want to move from Los Angeles to Morristown, Tennessee. I make $100,000 in Los Angeles. How much do I need to make to live the same lifestyle in Morristown? And I believe it was around 57,000. So when you think, oh gosh, I can't make $20 an hour, you can. You
Mhm.
know, you might have to make some adjustments to your lifestyle until you get settled, get some promotions, get pay raises, but you know, you certainly don't have to make as much money here to live a better life.
Can you say that again? Where do you find that information out?
That is on the Morristown Chamber of Commerce website.
Okay. And I would assume that they probably have that in most communities?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
And,
really
and
good.
and that's dialed in down to how much a loaf of bread costs. They price check all this stuff. It's not just made up numbers.
Right, yeah. Well, we're gonna kind of touch on an area that we've already talked about a little bit, but the last thing that when we're talking about relocating to a new state is getting your essential services done. You know, setting up your utilities, your healthcare, your schools, banking accounts in advance to minimize disruption. So, you know, these are all things that most people would just normally think of. But let's face it, guys, when you're moving from one state, we have members that have been in California for over 60 years and they're saying we have to go. We have to leave. They've been there for 60 years. And so now they're going to be moving to another place. And so the last item is just establishing essential services. And both of you guys are in Tennessee. So I know you guys can speak to what that's like in Tennessee. But a lot of this would be very similar, I believe, in other cities and other states in our country. So we're going to be wrapping up here, but let's touch on this one, and both of you guys talk about, because we already talked a little bit about it, but can you guys elaborate a little bit more on establishing essential services? Lynette, take it away.
Yeah, I think one thing that was helpful for me, I banked with a credit union in California and, you know, talk to your bank in advance. Ask if they have any reciprocal, different banks, other credit unions that you can do business at until you can get here and open your new accounts and get your money transferred to a local bank here. Sometimes you can't do those things until you're physically here. So make sure that you're able to access what you need to do. From another bank branch or you know, credit union. You really want to make sure, you know, that you have cash on hand just in case. You know, if there isn't somewhere that you can do those things at, you know, you really want to make sure that you don't come here and are dead in the water. Make sure that you have your prescriptions filled. You know, I mean, it really, I mean, just down to your normal daily stuff. Make sure that you don't get here and get stuck, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that makes sense. Amy?
You know, those are great points. So, funny story, because I'm this person, I had two banks, I had Wells Fargo and I had a credit union as well. And the sister branches only go so far.
Right.
I was hard-headed. I was like, I'm not going to transfer my California banks. I'm too comfortable. Um, After I bought my home, after being here for 2, 3 years, it took until I opened my LLC that I had to actually open a bank here. And I was so stubborn. It was so painful, you guys. I couldn't deposit checks over $5,000 because there were no ATMs. I had to write it to a PO box to Wells Fargo. I mean, do not put yourself through that misery. There is no Chase here. There are no Wells Fargos here. I have clients who have to drive out, like in my first few homes closing, they had to drive and get it. and bring a cashier's check. So absolutely on the like spot on for the banks. And there are some really great banks out here, but you just have to take the leap of faith and dive in
Mhm.
and kind of adult again and start from scratch. I will say the biggest relief as someone who came from Los Angeles that just sucked me dry. Out there it's a little like, there's a status and you drive the nice cars and you go to the nice dinners and you're carrying things and coming out here, starting from scratch, not having anyone know my history, my background. I mean, I went like straight to soccer mom in my pajamas, a little too far too comfy, but it's nice to start from scratch. It's hard to gain, who's going to do your nails or your hair. And I think that just comes with talking to a lot of the locals and,
Mhm.
um, like finding those mom and pop restaurants. Go where the locals go. They always know someone good. And in Tennessee, everyone knows somebody. So
Well, I hope for all of our members out there, we just want to continue to give you more added value, and we are working hard behind the scenes. This is just not an hour-long show every Monday at 12. And for those of you that haven't seen my Money Matters show with Monty Feltz, Amy talked about Monty, and Lynette got to meet Monty as well. I mean, he's amazing. And we would really encourage you guys, if you're thinking about buying a home, Monty, he gives great advice. And there's a reason why he's in the top 1% of all lenders across the country. And he's licensed in all 50 states. So check out the Money Matters show. And again, we're working behind the scenes. We work extremely hard all week long. It's not just a 1 hour show once a week, and that's all we do. We're always trying to figure out how can we give a better value add. And we have some things that are going to be coming out this year that you guys are going to be really impressed with. And it's going to be really helpful. And this Southern Freedom Tour, who knows? I mean, we've talked about Netflix maybe doing a documentary. I mean, maybe somebody will pick that up, and we're going to help continue to educate people. And we just want to keep giving. And before we close, I just wanted to see if you guys had any final thoughts or any other value adds that you could give to somebody that's just like you guys were thinking about leaving California. Go ahead, Amy.
I have a big one. I know we have a lot of realtors on here who are feeding you some really great information. I just want to stress to you guys, you don't have to talk to the realtor in your city. If you are drawn to a realtor like David, like Lynette, like myself in Tennessee or Vegas is not on your list, like don't be afraid to ask us questions. We would love to be that resource for you and answer as best as we can. To as far as we can in your process. But we are drawn and we are like some people are just magnetic or resonate with us. Like approach them, ask them questions.
Right. That's great advice. And Lynette, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think when you are in the mindset of I need to leave, and I really just like to drive this home for people, don't get desperate. Don't just make offers on properties sight unseen. Don't just move to an area you've never been to. It could really ruin your life if you're not happy. Take the time, do the research, prepare yourself from start to finish. Start now, organize, go through your stuff, develop those relationships with realtors that you're drawn to, just like Amy said. Find someone who feels like a friend and a family member. Don't just trust anyone just because they're from the area and they can help you. Some realtors that are from the areas that you're looking at, they don't see the flaws in some of the things that really would matter to someone from California. You're just not used to or have seen what it is like here. So find someone who's going to understand what you need and want, and find a good lender as well. You don't need someone that's not going to answer your calls and texts, whether if it's on an evening, during dinner time or on the weekend. You really got to find a team of people who are going to work for you to make your goals a reality.
Got it. That's awesome. And Amy, we gotta get you in there because people got to get a hold of Amy in Knoxville. I mean, so how do they get a hold of you, Amy? And any parting words for all of our 300,000 members?
I think that this is an amazing community that you guys can definitely lean on each other for. I know it's a lot to read through, a lot of posts to go through, but find your people, find your tribe, find other moms or dads or um, anyone who has something to do with your hobby and commonalities. You guys can find me online, fairly easy. It's Amy Lee Lucas. I'm on Instagram. I mean, I'm everywhere. So I would love to have conversations with you guys. And thank you so much for the opportunity again, David.
Absolutely. And Lynette, any parting words, and how do they get a hold of Lynette and our it's not Sleepy Town, because it definitely wasn't a Sleepy Town. It was our hidden gem. It was it's the best kept secret in Tennessee, I think. And they want more information on Morristown. Lynette, any parting words, and how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can call me or text me anytime. I'm a working realtor in California as well, so I work California hours. So, don't worry about the 3-hour time difference. You can reach me at 865-761-1344, and I'm on all the socials, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Lynette Liberta Wright, or Wright Tennessee Realtor.
That's awesome. And my name is David Berry. I'm your National Relocation Director. You can reach me at 702-374-1771. And my email is super easy at Las Vegas at davidberryrealtor.com. I'm on all the social media as well. And this has been a really fun show, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we're giving you guys great information. This is some things you didn't think about, or maybe you thought about them, but you didn't think about them in this way. May all of your moves be safe and stress-free. I look forward to hearing from everybody. Take care. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.